All right, Spencer rifle, favorite of Abe Lincoln, Morgan Freeman, General Custer, yes, and me. I kind of like it myself. Hickok 45 here. Finally, after all these months and years, we got our hands on a Spencer rifle. Yeah, it's a reproduction, but that's okay. We can shoot it. So, firing some 45 Colt cartridges, and we are so happy to have one. We put it on half cock, eject, put another round in, and shoot another 2-liter. That's why Christopher Spencer invented this thing. All right, he wanted to provide something that would take out a 2-liter or even a 12-ouncer. If you hit it, I guess I wasn't holding the sight in the right place there. Cowboy, I'm sorry, but you gotta go. Only hold 7, but we're not empty. I wonder if I can hit the red plate. Oh, so close, but so far away. Another round. Let's shoot the hat off the cowboy. Oh, well, maybe got the hat. It's empty now. Yeah, this is made by Chiappa reproduction. And we were fortunate enough here. Yeah, I tried to get one in 56 like they use most commonly in the Civil War, but you know, ammo is really hard to find. You know, Walmart has big bulk packs of 56, but it's really expensive. That was a joke. I don't know where you'd find that. I do understand there's some conversions. You know, if you have an original, that a block of some kind you can buy and for the bolt, and it will actually fire some of the it's 5650, I think it is, around this. Someone offers brass for and loads these days, so pretty close to the original, but not a rimfire, of course, 56. So, what is this thing? Well, Christopher Spencer came up with this, used pretty widely in the Civil War, especially after 1863. Not in 1963, for those of you who are a little bit historically challenged. I'm historically challenged in a lot of ways, but yeah, he developed this in the 50s and got the patent in 1960. And he was actually working in the textile industry, making machines. He was an inventor. He had a steam buggy he made and rode around town in, and all this kind of stuff. He was a true inventor like Edison. And he was actually building and coming up with machines, I think in a silk factory or something. And he was just doing that. But he had was it Cheney and Company or something like that, I read, and he was allowed to, in his off hours, use the machine shop or whatever, and he was, you know, coming up with stuff, working on things, and he came up with this and got it patented in 1860. About the same time the Henry, you know, came about. Probably the difference, we'll maybe do a comparison of this in Henry, but Henry's more fragile, and it took a lot longer to make it. So they didn't even make but about 14,000 of those things or something. And these, they made up upwards of around 200,000 or more of these, you know, before they quit making them. 230,000, a big number compared with the Henry. And it was easier to make, it was a sturdier gun, fired a bigger cartridge. It was more comparable to what this thing fired. Now this again is my original 1863 Springfield. It's really an 1861. See the videos if you're new. But this is an original used in the Civil War, and it fired the big 58 caliber mini ball. And remember how you load it? I hope you've seen the videos, how you got to pour the powder in and push the ball down and cap the nipple and all that. Well, that's what most people had. It's what most soldiers carried, or even if it was that good. Early in the war, they carried a smoothbore, most of them, some even flintlock. So you would think everybody would jump on this, and that they would have said, yes, build us 150,000 of them today, this month, as soon as you can. We'll get them to all the soldiers. Nah, never works that way, does it? For one thing, a lot of the brass, some of the officers, or top brass, thought that, you know, a repeater like this, it would hold 7 rounds, that the soldiers would use too much ammo and they wouldn't take aim, and they'd just be slinging lead. Kind of the old spray and pray thing that everybody thought would happen with the new Wonder 9s that came out back in the, whatever, 70s, 80s, except High Power came out before that, right? And so there's always resistance there, but they finally realized the error of their ways. And so the military, the Ordnance Department, the War Department, they had been evaluating firearms. They really were not in any mood to be evaluating another firearm, you know, as war came about, everything, 1860, 61, 62. And so he had a hard time getting an audience for this firearm, but he did with the Naval Department, and the Navy was impressed, and they ordered 7,000 of them, I think it was, and he went ahead and made 10,000. And word got around because it was out there. It's hard to hide quality, isn't it? It's hard to hide stupidity. It's hard to hide something that is really cool and really works well. And so officers would hear about it, they'd see it, and they'd buy one themselves out of their own pocket, and then they'd share that. Hey, look what I've got, man! This is pretty neat. Go out and shoot it. And so word spread. Whoa, this is pretty neat, and it works. And so couldn't keep it under wraps, really. And but still, he had trouble getting an audience and getting the War Department to like adopt it officially and replace the muskets. He thought they should quit making these. He was probably right, but he couldn't get too far. But he finally got an audience. I'll load it as I'm talking, show you how you do that. He got an audience with, guess who? Abe Lincoln. Remember him? Again, if you're history challenged, I think he was the President of the United States during the Civil War. So it holds 7, to put them back here in this magazine. And he got an audience with Abe Lincoln, and I think it was August of 63. There's 2, 4, 6, 7, okay. And Abe was interested in it. He wanted him to take it apart for him and show him how it worked and everything, which he did. And I think he kept it there. He said, come back tomorrow, we'll shoot this thing. And they did. He came back the next day. Oh, you know what? I think I wasn't supposed to have the action open when you load. I had one to kind of hang up when I did that. I don't know if that was why or not, but I'm going to close that back up before yeah. 2, 4, 6, 7, yeah. And so Spencer came back the next day. This was at the White House. Came back the next day, and they went out on the lawn and fired this thing. And Abe was impressed. Shot well, worked well. And you know where they were shooting it was, I read, was right there where the Washington Monument is. So they were out there. I think that's where they had their targets, you know, set up at where the Washington Monument is today. John and I should have taken the Scar 17 or something up there when we were in Washington and taken a few shots out there around the Washington Monument. You think that would have gone over well? And Lincoln actually he was interested in firearms. He had some knowledge, and the Henry, he liked both of them. And so anyway, he was impressed with it and told the War Department, ordered them basically, buy these things, order these things, and they ordered a bunch of them. And so from then on, you know, they ended up, the military, I think it bought about 100 or 200,000 of them, whatever the number was, a bunch of them, as many as they could make. They even had another company helping to make them, Burnside, I think, manufacturing or whatever. So that got it going. And so after 63 and then 64, you saw a lot more of these things. Soldiers really liked them. They really liked them, and they wanted them one way or the other. One way or the other, they wanted one. All right, let's see if we can get around in the chamber and shoot something. Yeah. Now on the originals, I've read because of the firing pin, and it's for safety reasons, you're supposed to half cock it before you ejected the shell. And I'll have to get all these and put another one in, then you cock it all the way. Either way, you had to cock it manually, unlike a typical lever gun, you know, the Henry or the Winchester. Well, the Henry is a Winchester, or any of those, that the lever cocks it. This one has to be cocked separately. I think on these, I didn't say anything in the manual instructing to do that, but I just thought I'd do it. Just for the sake of history, right? Do it the way those guys did it. Let's put one on this target over here. Or a couple. Yeah. Oop, I didn't do it that time. See, it doesn't really seem to make a difference. All right. I'm holding right on, so let's try a 12 ouncer. Oh. You know, it's funny, it just holds 7, but you feel like they just keep coming out of there. Let's try the gong. All right. Look, there's still another one. Try that red plate again. I'm gonna hold a little bit higher. There we go. Whoop, knocked him down or something there. That's got to be it. Yeah, that's it. So isn't that an interesting? It's got a rolling block action, and you can tell it's really beefy and sturdy looking there. You look at that thing; it's got some strength to it. It really does. Now they had a box they called the Blakesley box, I believe it was. It would hold 10 or 13 of these tubes you saw me pull out. So you'd have these tubes of ammo you could haul around, but it weighed 9 or 10 pounds too. But you had all that ammo, and that was quite a change from what folks were used to, right? With the muzzle loaders. So this was a really innovative firearm, no doubt about it. You've probably seen it in Unforgiven with Clint Eastwood. You've seen it in various movies. You can find the originals. They'll run you thousands of dollars, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 probably, depending on the condition. That's why these reproductions are more interesting and popular. For one thing, they can get them chambered in something like 45 Colts or 4440, and they're still expensive, $1,500, $2,000 They're not cheap, no doubt about that. And then, as I was saying, the one this was chambered for, the 56-56, it was used during the Civil War. It wasn't like the Henry, where with the Henry, that little round, that 44 rimfire, was kind of puny even for a handgun by our standards. Really, it was not as powerful as that by any stretch. Okay, it was kind of a weak 44 special or something. Whereas this 56-56 was comparable in foot-pounds of energy to what this thing fired. Okay, this is a 58 caliber, a little bit bigger but not much. And in terms of velocity and weight of the bullet, you do the math on it. It was I think it was actually the 56-56 was maybe a 54 or 54 caliber, going around 1,200 feet per second, something like that. But anyway, the ballistics on it were comparable, so you weren't really giving up power. Okay, and this came in carbine and rifle, and this is the carbine version of it. And so that was a big difference, really. So you didn't give up firepower in terms of power, you just gave up firepower in terms of capacity. Okay, so pretty neat gun, and you see how it works. You've probably seen them again in the movies. You pull out the tube. I doubt that the ones that were made back in 1860, 65 had that diagram on it. They might have, you never know. Okay, we got that closed up. Interesting firearm, really an interesting piece of history. There's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, loading through the butt like that. And of course, one advantage here, you have the ammo is protected against the weather, getting banged around. And of course, it's a cartridge, so it could be rainy, snowy, and you've got a sealed cartridge, and you've got them in the buttstock, so you can see the advantages of that, of course, throughout in the elements and everything. These were just really well liked. And let's bring one up and go bowling. Do some more bowling. Oh, that one's fun. So you don't have some crazy ejector that throws them way out of the way. You got to help it out a little bit. But that's okay if you want to go bowling. And then, there's a 2-liter still over there. And of course, compared with a muzzle loader, it really didn't matter. Let's try a buffalo. Oh, went over it. I knew that was happening. Oh, we got another round. Yeah, there we go. All where you hold. So it might look a little awkward as compared with a, I don't know, Winchester 92 or something. But compared with a muzzle loader, quite an improvement. Hey, cowboy. How about that? There we go. I guess if you eject it hard enough, maybe it will fly out. But you notice how that works down in there at rolling block. Comes back and it picks up another round and brings it right up into the chamber. So pretty interesting, and it just has a feel of being well built and really hefty. So interesting firearm. You'll see them at antique firearm shows, and that's a pretty one. You got the saddle ring on there. And the Carbine edition, even though I prefer big guns, I guess I would, if I were going to buy one, this is the one I ordered. I wanted a short one, a Carbine, kind of the most desirable in a lot of ways. And well, you can tell it's new. I mean, this was really stiff for a while. We had trouble getting rounds extracted initially. Actually, I had sent it back and let them work on it at Bud's. The extractor or something, it was just so stiff. I was afraid I was going to break the lever, extracting a round. And they smoothed that out, fixed that, whatever it was, and so she's working now, and not bad wood. I mean, it's a pretty gun. I mean, with Chiappa, some of them are kind of hit and miss, but this thing is pretty nice looking, I have to say. Take this back out. After the war, they refurbished a bunch of these things, and they chambered them in like 56, 52, 56, 50, a different chambering. And all that. They made a Model 65, a bunch of those, the Burnside company at least. And these things were used all around Mexico, France. Again, you have to take yourself back into history, don't you? Because by today's standard, if I got the Henry out, or a Winchester 86 or 66, any of those, I can sit here and lever that thing, it cocks on its own, and put the rounds down range. But a firearm like this that worked and had a lot of power to it in 1860 was pretty desirable, because it had punch just like that rifle. It had a lot of punch through a big chunk of lead, and you just didn't get that with the Henry. And it had some advantages too, but we may do a comparison of those two, like I said, of these two. So let's load it again. Let me get 7 out. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so we don't overload it. So pretty innovative. You could probably name some other movies. Y'all jump in on that. I'm trying to think. You see it pretty often in movies. Unforgiven is probably the most famous of modern day. Some of these old things, before they started making reproductions of them, it was more of a problem to use an authentic gun of some sort if they weren't making reproductions of them, because there's no ammo for them. So that created a problem. I think that's one reason you don't see as many 1873 Winchesters in movies, because up until they started remaking them, you had to use the originals, and they're they were chambered for different rounds, but I don't think blanks were available in a lot of those rounds, and you've got all that to deal with. Oh, there's a little bit of cinder activity down there. Let's put one in and shoot that cinder. Yeah. So this 45 Colt is a nice round, but it does not have the punch of what they were originally chambered for, 56, 56. I might try to take down old Mr. Turkey. Boom. All right, with a Spencer repeating rifle. What else here close needs to be shot? There's a couple of paint cans right there that, yeah. Okay, bowling pin. I jerked the trigger. I knew it when I did it. All right. Oh, got one more. Bad luck, cowboy. I mean, it feels a little awkward to use because I'm so accustomed to the traditional lever gun. So it feels a little awkward, getting it, but it's not bad. What an interesting piece of Americana in history there. I mean, that thing, and plus it's pretty. I mean, is that a pretty gun or what? That's it was, like I said, it was, most of them were issued after '63, and the soldiers just really liked them. They were very fond of them, and they wanted one if they could possibly, get their hands on it. And it was used in, as you stories you hear about the Henry, it was used in various engagements where it made the difference. There was a battle of Hoover's Gap. I read a little bit about as I was doing some research on this, where it made a big difference. Custer in up around Gettysburg, and protecting the supply shipments, the trains. Jeb Stuart, I believe, was trying to raid the supply trains, and he had a lot of soldiers armed with these things, and they were able to fight off Stuart, and they attribute it to these firearms. And Custer, I think, is quoted as just praising this thing. So the people in battle that actually used them I'm sure somebody didn't like them, but you read over and over how they just praised them. They praised them, over and over. They were lavishing praise on them quite often. And the people who actually used them, saw them in action, that's where you get a little credibility, don't you? Because that's where the rubber meets the road. And so they worked. They threw out a powerful cartridge. And again, can you imagine the difference? If you had been carrying your 1861 or whatever, your muzzle loader, and you know the procedures for that, demonstrated that, well, not like a reenactor, but I've shown you how they load, even the paper cartridges, and all of a sudden you've got this firearm, even if it seems a little awkward by lever action comparisons, and you've got this thing, and you can pop this open, and you got on your shoulder a box with tubes of this ammo, and you can put in 7 real quick, put that back in there, and you're back in action. Okay, and of course after it's broken in and you've been using it a while, it all works smoother, and you're ready to go with 7 more shots. And you shoot those 7, you pull it out, put another tube in there, and load her up, and before you know it, you're ready to go again. I believe the rate of fire they give on this was, what, 21 per minute or something, so you're expected to be able to get 3 tubes of ammo in there, and 3 sets of 7 in some way, and shoot that thing. So maybe 20 rounds or 21 rounds a minute, versus 2 or 3 with one of those. And then you had the self-contained cartridges. So that's hard to argue with, isn't it? It really is. So it was very popular, probably the most popular firearm during the Civil War, and everybody wanted one. And I can see why. It and the Henry were the 2 most popular, repeating, of course, firearms available at that time. And of course, the Henry wasn't really that available, was part of the problem. With both firearms, you had soldiers purchasing them on their own, especially officers that could afford it, out of their own pockets. And then that's how, of course, word would get around. What do you got there? Let me see that thing. I don't know what that would be like today. We've seen so many innovations in firearms. It'd be difficult for someone to bring out a pistol next month and or a rifle and just be this different from that rifle, right? And just wow, maybe it'd be a Glock 19 that's the same size and it holds 25 rounds or something. It'd just be something. It'd have to be something pretty amazing, wouldn't it? So the Spencer rifle, good old Christopher Spencer, got it done. He got an audience with Abe. And good old Honest Abe liked it, so that pretty much greased the tracks to getting these out there, in the soldiers' hands. So on the north, north on the Union side, obviously, goes without saying, I'm Abraham Lincoln. But speaking of that, I just remembered something else, that one of the cool things about this, as well as the Henry, was with these, in battlefield pickups, the South ended up with quite a few of those. The Union 1861 Springfields, because it used the same mini ball. They could almost walk across the field and pick up an infield, pick up a Springfield, and they would use the stuff they've got on them, the ammo, the caps, musket caps, 58 caliber balls. There were some, 69s, but they were generally older guns, 69 caliber. But once it yeah, by 63, I guess, about most people were carrying a 58 caliber musket, or if they were lucky, one of these, you know, or Henry. And so you pick up one of those on the battlefield, you're still in business if you're a Confederate soldier, even though those were issued by the Union, the Springfields. Well, with these it was a little different, because the Union was manufacturing the ammo for these, those 56 cartridges, same with the rimfires for the Henry. You pick up one of these or a Henry in the South, and you're pretty much limited to whatever ammo you can scrounge, because they couldn't duplicate and make this ammo. Someone might have been making some of it, but they had a really hard time in the South spinning the copper cases, I read. And so they didn't even try, from my reading, to make a lot of ammo for these things. Even if they were able to capture a bunch of them, they were kind of limited to whatever ammo they could steal or get from the North. So it's kind of a proprietary cartridge, I guess you could say, of the North, not even of the gun. So anyway, little tidbit there. So anyway, if you find these things interesting, you know, read more on them, look them up. There's lots of good stuff on them. I'm not going to take a 40-minute video here to tell you what little I know about it, but they were very, very popular during the Civil War. There were many more of these in soldiers' hands than the Henry. Because the Henry, again, it just took longer to make it and everything, and there were not as many available, even if you had the money to buy it. So, good old Spencer rifle, carbine in this case. Glad to be able to bring one to you and to fire one here at the range. I've wanted to shoot one of these for a long time. Glad you dropped in to kind of watch me do it. Life is good. Since I'm still here, let me go ahead and thank SDI, the Sonoran Desert Institute, for their support of the channel. If you're not familiar with them, they do distance learning. They're fully accredited. You can get a certification in gunsmithing there. You can even get an associate degree in firearms technology, and you can go on to do a lot of different things with that, you know, if you're interested. So you know, there's hands-on training and everything. So check the link in the description, sdi.edu, and you know, check it out. I do a lot of work with veterans, so it might be of some interest to you. So check that out. And also keep in mind, while I've got you, while I'm still here, that we are on Full 30 now. All our videos are over on full30.com, and there's a link in the video descriptions to that as well. So, you know, watch us wherever you like to. YouTube, Full 30, better yet, both. And keep in mind that we have the Hickok 45 and Son channel. John does a lot of things over there. I do some things over there, some Hickok history, different things. We've got the Hickok 45 Facebook page. We do a lot on that. There's 400,000 people following that. I hope you're one of them. The Hickok 45 and Son Facebook page. So we've got a lot going on there. Got the Gun Culture Radio show that John does, and I'm on that show sometimes over on Hickok 45 and Son. So just wanted to make you aware of everything that's going on in case you might not be familiar with it. Okay, and you'd better start getting familiar with it, because if you don't, I'm going to come to your house and have a chat with you. You don't want that to happen. And if I do, you'd better have good donuts and good coffee waiting for me. Okay.